Welcome back to my garden here. It's July. The last time we did this garden tour was in June. And back in June, it was the first time that I'd done a complete garden tour at this property in that way. And so I would say, hey, if you're curious about some of the more structural elements, the bushes, some of the things that are in here long term, go back and check out that video, because today I'm gonna focus more on the highlights of what I think is particularly interesting here in July. And maybe you'll see some things as we go that I didn't talk about that you think would be particularly interesting. Feel free to throw that in the comments, and that'll give me some inspiration on something to talk about in future videos for you all. So come along and let's take a look. The first thing that I'm gonna be showing you here as we come along here are these carnations. So when we last did the tour, I was concerned about the carnations. I wasn't getting a lot of flowers. They were only coming sporadically. I thought, well, are they just not gonna flower? Am I not gonna get a blush of carnation flowers at any point in the season? Since then, I have gotten a blush. We've got a lot more carnations here, and you can definitely smell it when you walk by it. You get that carnation fragrance. So I'm happy with the direction that's gone. We've got both the red carnations and these pink and white ones here. So that's looking good. As we go throughout the garden, I may notice a few places to deadhead, and I will faithfully do that as we're going. Over on this side here, I may have reported to you at one point that I had a volunteer tomato, and it's going good. I'm guessing it's probably one of the current style tomatoes. So my next job with this tomato would be to come stake it up. I will do something more of a single stake there, probably just so that it doesn't overwhelm the rest of what's going on in this bed, because I did plant a lot of things in this bed, as you've seen. I've got a broccoli in there still. I've got some beans. I've got a pumpkin over there. I've got another pumpkin over here. And then I've got the bush beans is what I was referring to down there. I actually have this is the Scarlet Runner bean here, and it's got the red flowers starting to come out, which I love the look of it. So even if I don't get beans, I love growing the Scarlet Runner bean for that reason. But the Scarlet Runner beans are vigorous and amazing how tall they'll grow. I mean, all the way up to the top of this trellis. The branch is going all the way up there. One of the things about Scarlet Runner beans that you may not know is that the flowers themselves are actually edible. So these little red flowers can be kind of tasty to eat as well. As I come down farther this way, we run into kind of my straw flowers that are still basically creating the recurring theme across this west bed, the straw flowers that overwintered from last year. So you'll continue to see a lot of those as we go through there. And then I've got a secondary trellis here that also has a pumpkin growing up it right now. I think I only got one in there to take off. I think I may have tried to plant one on this side and it just never made a go of it. You'll also see I've got corn scattered in and around everything here. And then there's some broccoli in there as well. The broccoli is ready to harvest. In fact, the head is starting to split apart a little bit. So these are not the big heads. These are the little heads regardless, but still they're ready to harvest. I should come out here and get those before they split apart too much and just flower on me. Let's come further this way. Well, as we've moved down this way, the things that I think to me are most interesting to point out are massive Black Beauty zucchini here. So there's actually a little zucchini forming in there. So summer squash season is on me. I'm starting to get some summer squash. We harvested one zucchini from a pot this week. We also harvested a yellow zucchini from a pot, and now we've got another one here. We're gonna have a bunch coming up on me here. A couple of cabbages in here that are coming along. And then I'm really happy with what's happened with with the sweet peas. We're hitting a hot spell now, so that might be it for them, but we'll see. Survived. I've been going around cutting off the peas that are forming to try to keep it going, and it's kept going. I thought maybe I might not make it, and that I may not get enough of them cut off in time, and that these would stop producing, but they're still producing flowers. And I just come along and snip off these as much as I can when I see them, and just keeping it going. And similar to the carnations over there, the sweet peas are providing the fragrance in this part of the garden. It's yeah, a great, getting a great smell over here. I'm enjoying it for sure. Well, what you can't see from that angle, but I will share with you with a close-up, is around, just kind of around the corner right there, as a nice kind of bushy kale plant, the kind that I like, the dino kale. But the big things that are out now that I want to draw your attention to, that I enjoy, are these petunias. So these are the garden party petunias from Botanical Interest, and man, I just love them. They're great, definitely a showpiece in this side garden area. Over here, it almost looks like a weed. Doesn't look that interesting yet, but this is the quinoa right here. And these seed heads that are right here are going to turn color, and that'll be something of interest at that point. And as you carry on this way, we have the 4 o'clocks here, not flowering yet, but you can see they've grown quite a bit at this point. And then we've got some asters that are just barely kind of getting going here. So this is going to be quite the show. I'm really happy with how that's looking there. And then we've got another grouping of petunias here, some beautiful pink petunias here. This side over here, we've got a smattering of things. The main thing I'll draw your attention to is kind of my decorative that I let go to seed. So I let these go to seed on purpose so that I would have these little pom-poms to off and get decorative alliums that are designed specifically for that purpose, but I didn't have any in the garden this year, so this was my alternative to that, so to speak. Okay. Back over here, there's some things of interest. Maybe I'll give you a close-up. You'll see some of that. On this side of the garden, probably the most uniquely interesting part of this section, because a lot of things are repeating, right? I've got zucchini plants spread out here. I've got garlic and cabbages and some of the flowers that are spreading out like these straw flowers. And so rather than kind of repeating those same things, descriptions over to you can see them, but the things that are unique in this section are the blueberries. So I've got 3 pots back here with blueberries, and they're not quite ready yet. This blueberry season has started. I know the local farms here, the U-pick blueberries going on. My family went out and did some a little bit last week and got tubs and tubs of blueberries, but ours aren't quite ready yet, but looks like they're almost there. They're greenish blue, they're turning. So we'll have some blueberries, and that's my 3-year-old daughter, Maddie, that's her favorite. So she's been eyeballing these for a few weeks now. Well, in this part of the west bed, I had set it up with a bunch of ice cream buckets, my painted ice cream buckets with peppers in them, but you can't really see all the peppers that are there because this is being dominated by this Italian striped zucchini in the back corner there, which I'll show you. There's a zucchini that's actually about ready to harvest right there. And then I've got this big cabbage out front here. So we've got all kinds of different peppers and a couple of eggplants growing here. Yeah, I like this setup. It's working great for us. And then some more broccoli. Again, I have to harvest that. It's gonna flower on me and not be useful then. Well, we'll finish up this side here. Back in there, I've got storage for my retaining wall project, and I've shared with you in my June tour video that tucked in the back corner there, I've got some trees that I was transporting or transferring from an old garden and trying to save, and I was having some success with it. So they're still there. Nothing really all that new in that topic there. Kind of I would say the points of interest here are letting some fennel here go to seed because I enjoy fennel, and it's fun to eat. I like the seed itself. I like to chew on the seed. And then I've got back here blackberry. These are the blackberry plants here that are in pots. And then a collection of kind of Various things. Probably the only thing of different interest here that wasn't earlier on in the garden is the borage plant here. So the borage has little blue flowers, and this is herb, but I don't really eat it. It is designed to be eaten, but I use it for attracting pollinators to the garden. So borage will typically attract a lot of pollinators and bees and whatnot. And then up in the back corner here, we've got nasturtiums filling out with the Nicotiana at the top of the pot. And then it's framing behind it the transferred over wisteria, which is kind of just sitting in a fabric pot, and we'll need to find a home for it next year. So that is the west garden as it is right now. So I've come down from the path where we were up here on the west garden down to the driveway here so we can see kind of what's growing in the pots along this wall. Of course, we've got the lavender. We've got that in several places, but this is great. It attracts the bees. It's beautiful. It smells wonderful. And then here is a dahlia, which is getting ready to bloom more. There was actually one nice flower on it, but it'd been blooming for a little bit, and just the heat and the sun directly on it crisped it up, and I deadheaded that, so it's out for now. These are marigolds that are going to flower for us in a bit. And then we've got a shishito pepper here that's to harvest. I've seen a few as we've been doing this tour of peppers that I should harvest, so I'll have to go back around later and harvest those. Then as I come my way this way, I've got the sedum here, which starts with a green and then turns into a nice pink. So continuing along the west side of the driveway here, tucked behind the sedum here, you can't see the full plant, but there is a Jimmy Nardello pepper. And I generally am waiting for these peppers to get red. There's a few peppers on them that are green. There's one that is kind of red, but not all the way. So I want it to get totally red first, and then I will harvest it, and that'll be sweet to eat. We've got the nasturtiums are blowing up here. There was something else I had in here, but it didn't survive. So the only thing that has survived in here is the nasturtiums. That gives me, actually, as I'm saying that makes me think about I might want to come back here and see if I can plop something in right there later. Maybe I can put in one of my dahlia bulbs that's sprouting in there and get another dahlia going. But you can see this is this jewel red nasturtium, and got my first bloom on it there. Got an empty ice cream bucket here, decorated ice cream bucket ready to be filled. I'm just leaving it there for storage at the moment. And as I come this way here, got some dahlias that have yet to bloom, but I've got these little mini purple pansies. So these are designed, this isn't because they're crowded in the pot. This is because these are mini petunias. They're designed to be a smaller habitat of petunia there. And then in this pot here, what we're seeing is some the beginnings of some marigolds here. Okay, continuing on this west side of the driveway, of course you have the other side of the petunias here. Everything that we looked at from that side, you can see from this side. I won't spend too much time commenting there because we were talking about that earlier. I don't know what this is. I kind of think it's kind of like a weed, but it was a kind of a grass that kind of came up in the wall here, and there were times when where I was feeling like it was time for me to pull it, but I decided to just let it be and leave it. And actually, I think at the moment it actually looks kind of good. I like the look of it. So it may turn into something I don't like, and I'll have to get rid of it. But that's that. This was the quinoa that we looked at earlier, and there's more nasturtium back there. I believe it's hyssop herb that I transplanted from another garden, and it smells like it. It's kind of taking over the wall here. It's grown into the wall itself, the rock wall, so that's not in a pot or anything. And above it here, I've got some thyme in a little pot, in a little bowl. And then I've got the nasturtiums here with a flower, or with a pepper, excuse me. And this is an Anaheim pepper. These will turn red eventually, or can turn red, but I don't wait till they're red. I just wait till they're nice and big and then harvest them as peppers. They're not spicy peppers. They taste more like I'd say they taste more like a kind of a standard bell pepper usually. Highlight of these nasturtiums is I'm getting a couple blooms here. So the nasturtiums here are just starting to bloom. And as I come over to this end here, I'll bring the camera in so you can see it better, but we've got our Salpiglossis here. And I just think these flowers are so exotic and beautiful. I love growing them. There's no way of getting around it. This is a driveway garden, so we're filming around the cars that are in the driveway. So it's for real. It's not a gimmick. This really is my driveway. Okay, so yeah, I mean, these things are a highlight of part of the garden for sure. The Salpiglossis here, just beautiful. Yeah. there. And I've got some shishitos growing in the middle there. Again, there's some that are ready to harvest. So I've got a good shishito harvest out here. I think if I just take a mental catalog of some of the things we've seen together, I've got broccoli, zucchini, and shishitos that I need to come back and harvest, don't I? This is what I was looking at trying to grow this year, and just very interested to see how it turned out. This is the Nicotiana. And what's interesting about it is, so I swear that sometimes I smell this whiff of kind of tobacco, like my dad's old tobacco pipe or something. But then when I try to recreate it, when I try to get in there and smell it, I don't smell it. So it's got this like phantom scent that sometimes kind of wafts through the area. And yeah, if you just really don't like that scent, it turns you off, then that wouldn't be a good thing. But for me, it's not overpowering. I'm not a smoker otherwise, so it doesn't carry any kind of negative like feelings for me. In fact, like I said, it reminds me of when I was a little kid. My dad had a tobacco pipe, and I still kind of faintly remember sitting in the living room in his lap and the kind of the smell of that pipe being there. So anyway, yeah, so, and then framed behind that, of course, is the lavender. This one, actually, the flowers are kind of crunched up a little bit now in the heat of the day, so it's not as striking as it is other parts of the day. And also, what you'll see as we go through the garden is we've got a few other places where I planted this. So this is the Bronze Queen Nicotiana, and I like it. It's a nice, interesting addition to the garden this year. That's it for the west driveway. We're gonna flip over to the east driveway and take a look at the stock tanks and the tomato pots. You've probably seen those in many videos because I do a lot of work on tomatoes throughout the season. Tour part 13, the east side of the driveway. Well, on this side of the driveway, I still have some plants in holding, but if you watched in a prior segment or a prior video, you will have seen that I terminated a bunch of plants that were in holding that I knew we were just never going to be able to get to, and that was really getting too late to make good use of them, because I just didn't want them sitting here making me feel stressed out like I had to plant them or something. So I still have some flowers. There's some asters there. There's still some decorative peppers. There's some kale here. These are actually perennials. So these I would keep, and the task for these penstemon perennials, which I've had for over a year now, is to pot them up into bigger containers and let them kind of keep growing on. I've got some flowers back here, and that's pretty much it. There's some delphiniums in there and some marigolds, just little bits of odds and ends. So finding places to tuck some of those flowers in, and then the perennials that I'll just keep for next year. That's the goal with the holding area here. Otherwise, I got these two stock tanks, really redid them. So I took out all the spring stuff that basically wasn't going to come to fruition at this point, or wasn't seeming like it was going to come to fruition. Cleaned it up a bit, and then I planted in some more eggplants, peppers, and flowers, petunias, and things. So these will be exciting. I'm not going to take you along in detail because I'll do separate videos, separate segments. I already have done some, and I'll do more on the tomatoes themselves. So tomatoes along here, you'll see the tomatoes along here as we go. Let me bring you this way though and show you, because I've got a bunch of stuff parked on the wall up here, on the walls up here, and I can just kind of talk about it a little bit. My retaining wall is still in process, but this section that I had kind of done, I slapped some capstones on it, and that allowed me to put some pots up there that gave me some more growing area. And so that additional growing area allowed me to grow some more eggplants and peppers and various flowers. There's marigolds in there. There's some nasturtiums. I believe there is some basil hiding in there as well. And then there is, back over there, there's the Nicotiana, another one of the Nicotiana plants growing there. Behind the Nicotiana is a fig tree that was here before I started the retaining wall project that I quite abused in order to get this retaining wall in and around it. But as you can see, without it's leafed out, it's survived, and it's carrying on. That's what I thought would happen, because what I've experienced with fig trees is that they're actually quite vigorous and robust. And then over here, I've got, hiding behind the tomatoes, I've got two pots that have yellow zucchini and traditional green zucchini in them, and that's where my first zucchinis of the season have come from. So totally enjoying that and appreciating it, and that's what's going on this east side of the driveway. Hopefully next year, this retaining wall project will be done, and we'll have long 50-foot beds here that will give us a lot more to talk about and see. But at this point, that seems like that's going to be a next year thing. Let's head back over there and see a part of the garden that you often see, which is the cherry tree garden. Well, this is a part of the garden that you often have seen already because it's been in several of my video segments where I'm gardening in and around this cherry tree here and the stock tanks behind it. So I'm not gonna go through everything that's back there. I'll just kind of describe it because I think this is an angle that you may not have appreciated it, been able to see it from before. And so I've got this sky pencil here and I've surrounded it with lobelia. I really like the color on this. It just pops out at you. And I really like these blackberry petunias. I think I got these from Territorial Seed, and I've been really enjoying those, and it's really filling out the corner the way I had hoped it would. I don't know if you can see it from that angle, but oddly enough, there is a volunteer tomato that is growing through the crack between the sidewalk and the retaining wall. That's pretty amazing to consider there. And then behind there, for reference, again, you've probably seen this in other segments with me, but you've got cabbages and kales, and there's the rhubarb, and then there's stock tanks behind there that I've just recently planted with all kinds of things. So I've got zucchinis back there and beans. I've got a couple tomatoes. I've got an Armenian cucumber. Most of that stuff has not come to fruition yet, so it's going to be more exciting to look at when it fruits. And then here around the corner to kind of see what's going on east path. Well, compared to earlier in the year and maybe even a month ago, there's a little bit less going on here relative to the rest of the garden. This used to be kind of the more exciting area. There was a lot more going on here. The rest of the garden was sort of bare, but the rest of that garden is just so exciting. I mean, you know, do you see all the flowers and everything that's booming? It just makes me so happy. It just feels so good right now. And so this area kind of steals the thunder from this area a little bit, but there's still some good stuff going on here. We still have some kind of lilies here going on, the wheat alyssum here and here. And yeah, the rest of it, some things are actually kind of bare. They've kind of borne out. Probably one of the things I want to call your attention to, though, that I've talked about in prior videos that I was waiting for is this trumpet-flower. So this was did by the neighbor. It grows in and kind of in the fence at this point. It's been here for years, but this time of year it just produces these really beautiful flowers, and they hang over on my side here, and I like it. You know, I enjoy walking by it, and they too much of a scent. They smell a little bit, but not much there. I don't think that's what they're known for, but they just look wonderful. I have to kind of cut them back a little bit so that I'm not hitting them with my head as I walk through here. But yeah, it just really makes make this walkway between these and then the fig here on the other side. It really kind of creates this feel of this corridor. And when it's really hot outside and that direction facing back behind you, that is the southern exposure. It's super hot on that driveway, which is great for the tomatoes and peppers and everything, but it's nice to have like this cool corridor here that you can walk down. You can be like, I get some cool relief. Okay, well, this is the end of our tour here as we round out. My potting bench is back there. I've shared that with you all before, so we won't get bogged down in that. But points of interest here, I've got echinacea here that is actually just growing in a nursery pot that I never got out into the field, but it's in this corridor, adding the view of this corridor, let me say it that way. And then here, probably one of the highlights of this walkway, this east pathway, is these delphiniums. So I'm really appreciating these blue and the white delphiniums. I love it. It's great. And then I've got a second pot of the blackberry petunias. We saw those at the beginning of the pathway on the corner back there by the cherry tree. Back here it ends the pathway. We've got a really big dahlia plant here with some flowers ready to bloom. So I hope to share that with you later. That's going to be pretty cool. I don't know if you can see it from there, but back over here, there is a dahlia hanging out back here and got a nice kind of purple flower on it. I think in all of our garden right now, that is the only dahlia that is currently available to look at, but they're all budding. So we're gonna have somewhat of a dahlia show soon here. And that's it. That's all there is for me to share today. I mean, there's probably more, you know, I could get down into some of the details. Like I said, if you saw some things as we were walking around here that you're like, hey, I wish you had talked more about that or pointed that out, let me know in the comments. I'd love to get those ideas for things to talk about in future videos. But my goal here was to kind of give you a new tour. We gave one a month ago. And so to do another one now, a July garden tour, to see where everything is at this point. Hope your gardens are going well, and I will see you all later.